people tend to only post like the highlights of their life on social media. And so when you're constantly consuming it and it's just a constant highlight of other people's lives,
Yeah.
we're under the perception that everyone's life is so great, like what's wrong with mine?
You don't have to make any quick choices here, and just get yourself in the right posture where you can actually maybe receive some good wisdom. Go slow, right? Slow down. Investor behavior and emotions. There have been studies done on this. And welcome back to the Legacy Life Podcast. It's good to be here again for another episode. And just had a real busy weekend. Your mom and I were gone at a conference out of state in Florida, which when you live in Michigan, you tend not to want to go to Florida in the summer.
Yeah.
Because it tends to be just as hot there, if not hotter than it is here in Michigan.
And did it prove to be the case?
It was.
Okay.
Yeah, it was pretty hot and humid, and like a rainstorm at 4 o'clock every afternoon.
Okay.
Yeah.
But with no clouds in the sky.
Right. No, there was actually one lightning storm at night. So, I mean, it doesn't interrupt anything, and they kind of blow in and out when you're there. But, but it was, it's beautiful there.
Yeah.
We had a good time, and you were busy all weekend.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Never a dull moment.
Nope, never a dull moment.
Yep. So it's kind of like the weekend, people tend to think of the weekend as like, take the pause. But maybe for us, it's Monday here in the podcast studio going, now we just get to do this episode.
It just never ends. It's just a constant every day, maybe every day you think you're going to have some time to do something comes up and it fills the time. So it's just like, all right, well.
Yeah, I guess it's good to have purpose and something to do.
I guess so.
Than have nothing.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
Yep. So today we're going to talk about kind of a part one of two as we talk about people's reaction to market trends and the vast amount of emotion that gets caught up in when it comes to making investment choices and what the consequences of that can be when emotions drive the behavior of our investment portfolios. And this comes out of a lot of different experiences that that we've had. Some of the examples we'll share today really just are kind of summations of a lot of different people we talk to.
Oh, yeah.
And kind of some of the things that we see very often and when people are talking about. There's
some very common themes in people's thinking, even though each person's a little bit different.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
So the truth is that a lot of times we like to think that we're following a system, maybe making contributions to my 401k, and I'm doing this over here. But if we're really honest, a lot of times it's emotion that's really driving the investment decisions. It's not necessarily, people a lot of times will say, no, it's a lot of greed or there's a lot of fear, and that can be true. Mm-hmm. Those things do exist, definitely exist when it comes to money. But I think for a lot of people, a lot of times it can go even let's go a layer deeper than just saying, oh, I'm just afraid or it's just greed. I think there's a deeper anxiety or even depression when it comes to money and people processing their futures. And it comes through the subconscious, I think now, because of the amount of scrolling and information we have at our hands. I think it's driving a lot of this erratic emotional decisions when it comes to investing for people because, one moment you're watching here and there's an ad that comes up and says, here are the 5 secrets that Wall Street doesn't want you to know, mm-hmm. or that the banking industry doesn't want. Someone doesn't want you to know something, but I'm going to give it to you, right? And then you see some other guy on there saying, yeah, I found this hack to be able to crack the real estate market, and right. I turned $5 into $5 million in 30 days, right? Mm-hmm. And so all these different themes as people are scrolling through, I think have an impact. This guy's killing it over here on crypto or on real estate, and I'm sitting here wondering if I'm going to be able to retire.
Right. That's hard, especially just the social media piece. I think is interesting because people tend to only post like the highlights of their life on social media. And so when you're constantly consuming it and it's just a constant highlight of other people's lives,
yeah,
we're under the perception that like everyone's life is so great. Like, what's wrong with mine?
What's wrong with my life?
But
Yeah.
really, like subconsciously, it messes with you and makes you think like, oh man, like that brings in that like depression or the comparison piece where you're like, well, my life doesn't look like that at all. And then you try to hop on all of these trends to try to make it work, even though this guy that is posting a highlight about like him making millions off this real estate hack, which he probably like put years of work into and then figured it out and now turned it into like some sort of educational course that he's making money off of and things like
Yeah.
that. Not that they couldn't,
Now that's a bad thing.
right, exactly, but it's like, it's just constant and very quick, like highlight, highlight, highlight.
30-second.
Exactly. So people are just looking for that, like, oh, that quick fix, if you will. And it's just comparison to not reality.
Right.
Like social media isn't necessarily reality.
Right. And when I see those things happen, and I'm susceptible to those same things. You're susceptible to those same things. We've all known that what the impact of all that data has done to us. All of us have made impulsive decisions about all sorts of different things based on just that, that system, that wheel that's turning it in the social media space. And
Right.
for me, when I think about what we do, my heart goes out to people who are really struggling in that and feeling like they're being bounced around like a pinball and don't know what to do and are very confused. Because, for me, I hope that they'll maybe watch or maybe get an excerpt from one of our episodes where we're telling people, hey, pause, take a breath, slow down just for a second. You don't have to make any quick choices here. And just get yourself in the right posture where you can actually maybe receive some good wisdom. Go slow, right? Slow down. Because we've seen a lot of people make a lot of just quick decisions and it really costs them a lot. Had a client come in this is a while ago now, and this is kind of it's this client, but a lot of others that were in situations where they come in and they look me down. They're like, you know what? I think I just need to sell everything.
Yeah.
And I'll be like, okay, why? Like,
They just want to get out.
right. That's like an abrupt change, right? You're doing this thing and suddenly I just want to sell everything and right. And so it's like, why? And they'll just say, well, I just have a feeling that I need to do something different. Now, I know we can all find the anecdote out there of the guy or the gal who said, I had a feeling that I had a feeling that I had to do X. And they do it and they make $1 million and they look like a genius because they had this innate intuition to do this thing that seemed out of the box and like everyone said they were crazy, but it turned out to be the right thing. Those things do happen. Okay. But those situations are usually the exception and not the rule. Right.
Right.
Most people who have a feeling really are scared about something or they're going through something. Okay. And it can be very real. And so when my client comes in and says, I have this feeling, I just need to sell everything, I'll just say, okay, well, what's going on? Let's talk a little bit. I'll ask, what's happening in your family? Has something changed? Let's talk. And, for this guy, his mom had just gone into assisted living. His business obviously was starting to slow down in profitability because he had to spend so much time taking care of mom.
Yeah.
So it's starting to affect his business and his revenue. And, he was exhausted from the caregiving. And so because his business was slowing down, his money was slowing down, he's like, I better get out of the market and just protect everything because he wasn't sure what was happening. His life was changing. He was feeling a lot of different things going on and things were really changing. And that's tough stuff to carry on your own. Right. And so sometimes people need to slow down and just talk it out and say, this is what I'm really going through. Get the story on the table and so you can really, we can want to be able to help people say, look, this looks like a storm you're walking through, but you're going to get through it. And we were able to talk some and not end up selling everything and actually just talk through, he was able to see his portfolio was fine. In fact, he was still on track, even though his business was slowing down. Now mom's in assisted living, which means he had extra help now. And so, I said, you'll give it 6 more months as your mom's getting extra help to see if you can get more rest and if that support's going to help you get back to your business. And sure enough, he was able to spend more time getting back to his business. Right?
Yeah.
So I was thankful he came in to talk about it rather than just making the decision. And because that happens sometimes, you get these notices. My client did what? Didn't even talk to you about it, right? Because they just were afraid or
Right.
something. So, you know, these situations happen, and I think they're real. And I think a lot of people watching this might be in a situation like that.
Right.
It may not be assisted living with mom, but fill in X, Y, and Z, fill in the blank.
They're caught up in the spin of emotion, and if you don't vocalize that or talk to anyone about that,
Yeah,
it's very easy to just make impulse decisions, and then
yeah.
mile down the road realize like, oh man,
Why did I uproot? I
Right.
killed the tree. Yep. So investor behavior and emotions. There have been studies done on this. And one of my favorite ones to cite is the Dalbar study, because it's a really thorough study that was done just recently, that the average working person who's saving for retirement in like a 401, for example, they're earning about 4 to 5% less than the market is earning over a 20-year span. And why? Well, it's because when people get scared, they tend to get out at the wrong time of the market. And there's been studies done that, the highest earning days in the market over a 20-year span, there's like only a handful of number of days. Like I think you can count them on
do
two
you take
hands.
the 10 highest earning
10
days?
highest,
Yep.
10
I
highest
believe
earning
that's the
days.
statistic.
Yeah,
is the
it's
10.
10, 10 highest earning days. And people who have gotten out and missed those days, they miss out on a ton of revenue because no one can time the market, but they got out at the wrong time. And they confuse, motion with progress, and they pull out when they shouldn't. And so for all the noise out there that, your portfolio is failing because of the fees, it's not necessarily the fees. It's the emotion and getting out at the wrong time, making poor decisions at the wrong time.
Yep.
Is really one of the biggest contributors to the lack of earnings or the underperforming of portfolios.
Right.
So
So that's one end of the spectrum, the people that do things mostly off of emotion, and there's typically a mix of a few things, but then there's people on the other side of the spectrum that are all logic and statistics.
yes, true.
Yeah.
Yes. And, God bless them, because we try to tell people, hey, understand what you're investing in. And so some people go all out, and try to do that. But, outside of the anxiety, there's some people who just, the slow and steady, and they people might look at what they're doing as like maybe watching paint dry on the wall. But God bless them, because I think in some ways that kind of a mindset can serve you better. Because boring portfolios are great, as we've written articles on and talked about.
Yep.
So it's kind of like when emotions go up. What's Dr. Daniel Crosby? That's his name. He said when emotions go up, intelligence goes down. And so, that includes the investment intelligence. So slow and steady. And if you're a person whose emotions you're hard to regulate, find someone in your life, an advisor, someone can keep you steady that you can talk to. Sometimes we have to be a little bit of a therapist for some of our clients, and that's okay.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So, slow, boring portfolios, not making rash decisions, having a good plan in place that you understand that you can just stick to when times are tough is really important to know. And so, like, we're at Legacy Life, that's what we believe in. We believe that good planning outlasts mood swings.
Yep.
The people who win in the long run are the people who stick to slow, boring, consistent strategies, especially when they feel like running.
Yep.
They don't panic. And, I've also had clients who been around a long time, the ones who have been through a lot, that I've actually been able to walk with a longer period of time, who, they went through 2008, which we can refer back to. A lot of people remember the housing crisis. They went through COVID. They went through, even 2018 before that, then COVID, and then 2022 when NASDAQ was down, 23% that year. They went through all of that, but they trusted in what we call the orchard that they had planted. We did that in a few episodes back, the apple orchard analogy, right?
Yeah.
They trusted in that, and they now are able to retire, and they have income, and it's going to last them for retirement. And they didn't panic through all those times because they understood the strategy that they were building. And I think that is possible for anybody who's willing to take the time to learn and not just scroll and look for the next answer, to take the time to do that. So if you have an emotional story about your money right now, I would say that we would be more than happy to have a conversation with you, not judging, if you've made some bad decisions, but a listening ear to talk you through it and see how we can get you back on track. Click the link in the show notes to get our calendar so you can book a time to talk with us. More than willing to have a free consultation to help you get back on track. Would love to talk to you about that. And should try to say this more at the beginning of our episodes, but
Probably.
if you haven't subscribed to our channel, hit the subscribe button so that you can get an episode each week. We post them every Monday.
Starting to go up a little bit quicker. Just something I've been noticing.
Yeah.
Because 1 or 2 episodes ago, we just hit 100 subscribers.
Yeah.
And now we're at 111.
Wow.
So,
well, thank you everybody who's subscribing. And this is episode 24.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
So things are moving along here. I can't believe it's 24 episodes already.
Yeah.
But
I know
it goes fast.
Mm-hmm.
But we love being on your YouTube channel, and you can find us on any of the streaming services, right? You can find us on Spotify, Apple
anywhere
Music.
you find your podcast, you can find us.
Yeah.
And feel free to comment any topics that you want us to cover.
Yeah. Or any of you that have great stories of family legacy, multi-generational wealth, or things that have been handed down by grandparents or parents that have stuck with you that you would love to share about. We'd love to hear your stories. We really would.
Any really cool testimonies or anything like that.
Yeah.
You can message us. Our email's in the description of the channel.
Yeah,
you can
absolutely.
contact us.
Yeah, we'd love to hear about it. And so thanks for joining in again, and we'll catch you next time.